Hi, my name is Robert Adair Wilson, and I would like to read you one of my stories that I have published on Facebook.com. The story is called Late One Night. Damn the bus schedules in this town, Susan thought, as 22 West Side pulled through the last traffic light on Pandora, its taillights winking out, first one, then the other. Doesn't anyone realize some people work late shifts in Fernwood? She yelled at the disappearing bus. She shouldered her backpack and sat down, having run 2 blocks down Cook Street, trying to catch her last chance at a ride home. It seemed it was taking longer every night to get the video store cleared of hangers-on, those derelicts with nowhere to go, now that the miserable fall weather and rains had arrived. Once the last was out the door and she locked up, she could finish reshelving the DVDs and Blu-ray discs, bag the cash receipts for the bank drop on the corner, set the alarm, and catch the good old 22 for home. It was a crappy job and paid even worse, but would have to do until something else came along. Susan always felt a cold twinge in the back of her head when telling people how she had landed the job, because the last girl, Penny, who was also 22, had disappeared after leaving work late one night, never to be found. The rain had only worsened, and her walk home would soak her. No umbrella, no coat. It had been a beautiful fall day when she started her shift. No money for a cab, no cell phone, and no choice, she thought. No harm in it if she were careful, not like it was a habit. It would only be for a few kilometers, and she could dash for her building. As the gray minivan rounded the corner, she impulsively jumped out into the headlights' gleam, her right thumb thrust high in the air. The other hand behind her back, fingers crossed, and under her breath, "Please don't let it be some weirdo." The vehicle moved slowly up the street, examining and assessing the ground covered as it rolled to a stop 5 meters from where Susan stood. Then it waited. Susan peered through the rain but could not clearly make out the driver, a middle-aged male. Alone, she hoped, and she slipped her pack off her back to carry if she had to drop it and run like hell. She came up to the passenger window, and it whooshed open under the driver's control. "Hey," she said. "Thanks for stopping. Heck of a night, eh?" "Yep," came the reply from a nondescript man in his 50s. He smiled. "Hop in. It's pouring out there. Would you mind turning on the interior lights?" "Sure, good call." The inside of the van lit up, revealing only open space from front to back. "Thanks," said Susan, opening the door. "Just wanted to be sure, you know, I don't usually hitchhike, but I'm sure stuck tonight." "Not a good idea to hitchhike. Don't know who might pick you up. So why the hitchhike tonight?" "Like I said, just too late for the bus, and I'm stuck in the rain, totally busted. Don't have far to go if that's a problem for you. I thought you stopped to offer a lift." "You're not going far, eh?" "Just a few kilometers. If you're going east, corner of Bay and Blanchard would be great if it's not a problem." "No worries. I live out that way anyhow." "On your way home from work then?" Susan asked, not really expecting much of an answer, as she slid into the passenger seat. "No, not me. Haven't worked for years now," as he accelerated. "So you're heading home from what? A night out?" Susan sniffed, but she could smell no alcohol or weed. "I'm usually out on the roads at this time of night. You just haven't seen me before. But I've seen you, waiting for 22 at the bus stop many times." "You've seen me before? You've been watching me? Hey now, what's that about?" Susan's right hand grasped the door handle as her left hand released her seatbelt. "Don't do anything foolish. You could damage yourself jumping from a moving vehicle, you know. Besides, I can lock your door at the touch of a button. Child-proof door locks. Built in, you know." "Just meant I had seen you before when I made my rounds. I wasn't watching you in particular, but I've watched a lot of young girls like you." "Well, you're starting to creep me out, old man. Like talking about making your rounds. What's that about? Some kind of stalking for prey?" And aggressively she braced her feet against the side of the center console, expecting the worst. I assure you, there's no funny business going on. It's just that it's amazing to me you girls think nothing of putting yourselves in danger. How were you raised anyway? Didn't your parents teach you right or care about your safety? My parents raised me just fine, thank you very much. And anyway, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm 22 years old, got my own apartment, and can look after myself pretty well, if you know what I mean. Susan pulled a small can of bear spray from her pack. Sure you can. Don't doubt it for a minute. Okay, so, how do you like your job, if you don't mind my asking? He sounded almost friendly, and both hands were on the steering wheel, so Susan took a breath. Well, it's none of your business, you're right, but the job's okay, I guess. Long hours, working late nights, by myself, an almost worthless salary, but it pays the rent. And again, she thought about how she had scored the job, hoping he wouldn't ask under the circumstances. I hear you, not the kind of job to risk your life and limb over, eh? And here you are, hitching a ride from whoever stops. But you took the position of another girl who was there before you. Did you know her? Her name was Penny. See? There you go again. What business is that of yours? You're not my father. You know that? I want you to pull over right now. I've had enough. I'll take my chances walking from here. Okay, it's up to you, but it's a torrent out there. Hope you don't catch your death. Of cold, I mean. Susan grabbed her backpack from the floor between her feet and jumped out the open door just as the van rolled to a stop. She slammed the door behind her. The man whooshed the window down as she stepped back onto the sidewalk. I want you to get home safely, he smiled. Susan shuddered, silently turned her back on him and trudged up the street. Boy, the nut jobs out here cruising the streets late at night, she muttered into the rain. Before pulling away, the driver flipped down his sun visor and watched the vanity mirror light gently illuminate a carefully taped snapshot of his daughter, Penny. My other stories are available, as I said, at www.smashwords.com. Just search for Robert Adair Wilson. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy reading.